Ninjabread Man, another obscure Wii shovelware game nobody's ever heard of. I know it gets old, but apparently somebody's heard of Ninjabread Man because I get requests for this game all the freaking time. It doesn't look like that terrible of a game, just a mascot platformer set in some kind of candy land. The graphics are simple, but look fine. The music is okay. So far it doesn't look so bad. Shake the nunchuck to jump. Okay, an odd choice. And jump. I shook the nunchuck and nothing happened. What the hell? Okay, let's try it again. Get all nice and centered. Jump! Well, it worked this time, but I need a double jump to cross the gap. Come on, it's the first main jump of the game. Go! I ran straight off the ledge again! I swung the remote, I swear! Come on, come on, come on. What the hell happened? I finally got a double jump to work and I still missed. It's like I just fell straight down out of nowhere. Shit, I missed because the jump is so damn short. Ass! I swung the nunchuck, you piece of shit! The first jump in the game and I can't make it! So, it didn't take long for this game to go straight down the crapper. The controls are god-awful. They're some of the worst controls I've ever experienced in a platforming game. Not only is jumping with the nunchuck hell on your wrist, but the game only registers the jump when it feels like it. Most of the time, the game just flat out doesn't register that you've swung the nunchuck and nothing happens and you fall flat on your ass. Plus, the jump is so pathetically small that everything has to be done with a double jump, so every single jump in the game, there's 2 separate chances for the game to not read your motion and send you falling. Another problem is the jump often has a lag to it, so timing the jump to actually travel far enough to hit your target is a nightmare. Ah, come on! Crud! Crud! Oh, that is crap! Yes! I made it! I finally made it! Crud! You can't change the controls either. I tried a lot. Another problem is the game's physics engine is ass and gravy. You can barely move in midair, and I swear you don't get as much height if you're standing still, and you also barely move if you're even slightly against a wall when you jump. Every single jump in the game you have to have a running start. So not only are you struggling to get the game to read your motion, you're also constantly running off ledges from when the game lags reading the jump. You swing the Wii remote to launch attacks, and I actually think the sword controls are even less responsive than the jumping. The game is only programmed to accept you waving the remote exactly horizontally. Any other direction it won't accept at all. But even then, it just flat out doesn't read you swinging the remote. When the game actually decides to launch an attack, there's about a full 1 second delay to it because the animation has the guy stop to pull the sword out of his sheath, he swings it once, and then he puts the sword back. None of the enemies die in one hit, so every time you try to fight somebody, you run up to them, take over a full second to swing the sword, then sit in place for another second or two for him to pull the sword out again for the next attack. All while the enemy is beating the crap out of your dumb shit ninja who doesn't know to keep his sword out while an enemy is 3 inches in front of his face. Very rarely I've gotten him to do 2 swings at once, but it doesn't help the controls feel any more responsive when you're frozen in place every time you attack. Most of the time you don't even need the stupid sword because you have some kind of undefined projectile attack. You throw a weird bolt of energy, the game doesn't even try to explain it, and it homes to automatically hit enemies. At its base power, it takes about 5 hits to kill a single enemy, but it's fast, it lets you safely kill enemies at a distance, and it can power up into a one-shot kill. So there's absolutely no reason to use the sword. It also removes any skill or strategy to the combat because these projectiles don't miss unless you're at point-blank range. Just mash fire and everything dies. Using the projectile also conjures a cursor that actually lets you control the camera, which is something you desperately need. If you wander around long enough, the camera will eventually slowly loop around to where it's behind you, but unless you are physically manually piloting the camera the entire goddamn game, you'll almost never be able to see what you're doing. By the way, you cancel the aiming by pressing the A button. You can't use the button every other game uses to jump because it just had to be used for this minor action you'll very rarely use. Here's an idea. Why not map the aim cancel to any of the half-dozen unused buttons on the controller and use A to fucking jump? So both the combat and the platforming suck nards, but maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe the game will be mostly fighting pastries and only a little bit of platform. Oh, god damn it. The central mechanic of the game barely frickin' works. After a lot of falling on my ass, I eventually developed a style of jumping that seems to have the best chance of working. I violently lurch the nunchuck upward to jump and then just kind of erratically shake it and hope for a second jump. But even with this technique, it still just refuses to jump unless you swing the nunchuck hard when you try to make a jump. And even that is still a chance. The entire game is just pure tedium because between the awful camera that you have to constantly wrestle with and the broken controls, you have to force every single thing that you do. Every solitary move is like screaming at a deaf person hoping they hear you. You're not given a single word of dialogue or story throughout the entire game. You're just dumped into this environment with zero clue about what you're doing. Eventually, you realize you're supposed to go around collecting these blue cylinder things to put into a machine, but what this thing is, what it does, why you need to use it, and why a horde of pissed-off cupcakes wants to stop you is never mentioned. You're given no context whatsoever. The first level is a random, chaotic mess of platforms. You just follow the arrows straight to each cylinder. In some of these rooms, I have trouble seeing where the blue thing even is, or if I can see it, I wonder how in the actual shit I'm supposed to get up there. I swear a good portion of these platforms don't lead to anything. The level is so poorly laid out. I just find it weird that this unidentifiable cylinder and teleporter pad thingy are the only two things in the game that don't mesh at all with the dessert theme. It's like they just gave up. The second level is completely linear and very straightforward. It's a lot easier to navigate, but it's still a giant pain in the ass! I hate these landmines. You can't shoot the mine to set it off, it doesn't go off until you're too close to safely run away from it, and its blast radius is so big you can't dodge them. The only safe way past them is to run by them without stopping, so of course they place these things on tiny platforms where you have no chance at all of avoiding them. Just have to cross your fingers and hope they don't knock you off the platform. What the hell just happened? The cylinder is placed inside a log or something that you have to jump down and grab it, and I somehow died in the middle of the cutscene that plays when you grab a cylinder. Oh, great. These jumps are over a bottomless pit. Great idea! Die instantly if the controls misread a single one of your motions. This level has a little puzzle where you have to memorize this pattern of blocks and then walk along the squares up top or you fall into lava. Trouble is, the pattern that it gives you is wrong, and it tells you to start by walking 5 squares when you're actually supposed to walk 4. They screwed up the only puzzle that's in the entire game. The third level is just pure misery. The jumps in this level are spaced as far as possible apart to where you can still make the jump. You have to run at the ledge, jump at the last possible split second before you run off, and have the game perfectly register 2 sequential jumps at exactly the right times, or else you fall into this lava jelly whatever and take damage. And every jump in the level is like this. Every single one is over lava. Sweet crap, have some mercy. It's only the third level. I'm getting killed left and right because the basic controls decided they don't like me. And get a load of this shit here. You have to make like a dozen jumps in a row without missing one, or else you go in the lava. It took me, no joke, at least 20 minutes to get past this one staircase. Shit. Shit. Shit! Shit! Well, it looks like I'm getting a Darth Vader Ninjabread Man. But eventually, patience paid off. I get to the end of the stage and... What the crap? It just took me back to the main menu. No, you have got to be That's it? 3 levels and the game's over? There's not even an ending? No boss, no credits, no anything? The Wii's playtime tells it all. Subtract 2 minutes from checking if some games worked this morning, and I beat the entire game in 1 hour and 45 minutes. And well over half of that was level 3, where the game starts killing you if it doesn't work right. The game is designed to be beaten in 1 hour. It's the shortest Wii game that I've ever seen. And this isn't like The Grudge, where there's collectibles and a hidden level. The profile says 100%. That's all, folks. Thanks for your money. You can piss off now. The game has a few alternate game modes if you replay any of the levels, but the mere thought of playing any portion of this crap heap a second time just makes my head sad. The score pickups mode challenges you to collect pieces of candy. 346 pieces in this level? Now you're just actively trying to suck! And guess what? The score pickups mode has 3 difficulties, and that 346 pieces is the easy mode. The hard mode sends you looking for 658! What on God's green earth were they smoking? Then there's the hidden pickups mode, where you have to find 20 pieces of candy that are hidden in secret spots around the level, but level navigation is such an ungodly nightmare that you won't do this either. The only mode that has any promise is the time attack mode, where you have to finish a level in a brief time limit, but the time attack mode removes your checkpoints, and the jumping controls are so horrid that staying alive is very rarely your call. Die once, and you get sent back to the beginning of the level, and your Wii remote gets sent through the nearest wall. So 3 bonus modes, and you won't touch any of them. 1 hour of shit is all you get. I know this isn't a very long review for a game that's been so heavily requested, but there's no more game to play here, you know? There's only so many times I can show myself falling off a jump and yelling shit. I guess I should talk about how pretty much everything on the game's box is blatant lies. Throw ninja stars to stun enemies, bam! Then follow up with Ninjabread Man's mighty samurai sword. Why does a ninja have a samurai sword? I'm pretty sure there's a big difference. Reducing enemies to a quivering puddle of raspberry jam, bam! Collect power-ups, bam! Use ninja skills, bam, to jump onto high ledges, bam, dash past enemies, bam, and find the magic candies, bam. I could talk about how the instruction booklet is full of bad grammar and boasts more incorrect features, like a bomb-throwing attack that doesn't exist, but that's it. Ninjabread Man is just a bare-bones platformer with one solitary mechanic that barely works. It's just a game where you jump on platforms, and the controls just flat-out refuse to acknowledge your mere existence. The only noteworthy thing about the entire game is how obvious little of giving a shit went into making it. The fact that the credits don't play unless you go into the options tells me that even the people who excreted this turd knew full well that it was horrible, which makes the dirty little secret of this game even worse. Seeing as how I seem to have a little extra time, you don't mind if I cover one more game while you're here, right? Don't worry, you're gonna want to see this one. This is Rock and Roll Adventures, created by all the same companies as Ninjabread Man and also released for the Wii. Look at it. Look at it! It's the same damn game as Ninjabread Man. It's got the same interface right down to the icon for your projectiles. The controls are exactly the same. The jumps and attacks have the exact same piss-poor rate of detection as Ninjabread Man. Same attacks with the same slow-ass attack animation, built off the same game engine, same teleporters, same checkpoint icons, same enemies, same undefined projectile attacks, same camera controls, same number of levels. Shit, I think the training stages have identical layouts. I ran in circles around this room after falling on my ass enough times to recognize it on sight. I cannot overstress this. It's the same damn game! You can count the differences between the games on one hand. The levels are different, you're collecting records instead of the blue cylinders, there are no landmines or flying enemies, and there's a few parts where you have to push boxes to jump across, which you figure out on accident because the tutorial doesn't tell you. Look at this mess. They didn't even bother to fence off the walls of the level. It's all just platforms floating off in empty space. You can jump off to your death anytime that you want. The game almost looks unfinished. You know, Ninjabread Man at least looked like one coherent setting. This looked like it could be a fantasy realm, or like hell for evil diabetics. This just looks like a typhoon ripped through a music store and an Elvis impersonator dropped acid and walked through the wreckage tripping balls. Rock and Roll Adventures has one big improvement over Ninjabread Man. All the jumps are positioned over solid ground. None of the jumps are placed over bottomless pits or lava, so you don't get punished every time the controls screw up. But that's just it. The controls still barely work. Game still blows ass. I don't need to go through all this again, do I? Blah blah, why won't the jump work? Blah blah blah, less than an hour long. Just rewind the video if you really need to hear the exact same complaints again, and then rewind it another 2 times after that. I shit you not, there are 2 more Ninjabread Man clones out there. Their names are Anubis II and Mythmakers Trixie and Toyland. They released this frickin' barely functional game 4 separate times! Each game has about 3 different release dates listed on Wikipedia, but they all seem to have been released at about the same time. So then I started to get curious, and I went through the credits for the 2 games that I own. Each game has the exact same credits list. It's name for name for name, the exact same dev team. I would bet money these 4 games started as one title, and they split it up to bilk it for 4 times the money, leaving us with the literal embodiment of shit hitting the fan, where instead of one turd we get 4 smaller ones splattered all over the place. I don't believe it. You guys made a horrible game. You guys knew that you made a horrible game, and you released said horrible game 4 separate times to screw as many people as possible in one sitting. Well, screw you too then, Ninjabread Man, rotten hell, and take all your shit-sucking third brethren clones with you!